Hello everybody. Today we will be replacing our old water heater. We had this water heater for several years, and recently we noticed several water stains on it, as well as a few places that had rust buildup. This water heater is still working good, but I think it's better to replace it now than to wait for it to break down and start leaking. However, we are not simply going to replace it with another 40-gallon water heater, but instead a tankless water heater. We chose to buy one of the smaller models, and even though the unit is tiny, we saw that it required a hefty 60 amp breaker and 6-gauge wire, which the old water heater did not even come close to having. Your typical water heater will be on a 30 amp breaker with 10-gauge wire, which will need to be replaced in order to install the new tankless water heater. We took a trip to our favorite orange hardware store and asked for 75 feet of 6'2" Romex wire. The tankless water heater was $230, but the wire and the circuit breaker was also another $200 in case you are looking to also do something similar. After getting home, I began unwinding the wire to make it easier to pull through the house. I then connected a hose to the water heater to begin draining the water and closed the valve. I did not record me doing this, but it's important to note that the water heater has been turned off. You never want to drain a water heater or shut off the water to it when it's still powered on, as the heating elements can burn up. To help the draining process, I opened up some faucets in the house to let some air in the pipes. While we wait for it to drain, we start to pull the wire in the direction of the electrical panel. One of the advantages of this house is that it has an unfinished garage, meaning you can see all the rafters and makes for easy access into the house. The water heater finished draining, so we grabbed the dolly and took it out of the house. This is the old electrical wire that we are replacing. My father made a small opening here for the attic, and he is feeding down the wire while I pull it through. The new water heater came with a screw hole template for mounting the unit on the wall. There are no studs behind this wall, so I am using 3 drywall anchors. The water heater doesn't weigh much, and once I set it down on the screws, it felt secure and well supported. I then got out of my dad's way so that he could connect the hose to the water heater. He is using a combination of 3/4 inch braided hose with a 90-degree compression elbow to attach the water supply to the water heater. One final step to finish the installation is making the connections on the electrical panel. Here you can see the old 10-gauge wire and the 30 amp breaker of the old water heater, but we need to replace it with a new wire and 60 amp breaker. Now, I'm always down for the DIY spirit and encouraging people to get out there and get it done, but this is something I cannot show you because you could seriously be hurt and potentially damage your electrical panel if you make a mistake. So I recommend you seek professional help if you plan on doing this. With the electrical done outside, we took our disconnect wires and attached them to the water heater on this block. Each line is supplying 120 volts for a total of 240, just like the normal water heater, but because of the larger wire and breaker, it's able to heat up the water much faster and immediately as it passes through the water heater. You can set the temperature dial up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, but for testing purposes, we're going to keep it at 95 degrees. At this setting, we're actually getting water temperatures of 100 degrees. If you have watched the video until the end, I thank you for your time, and I will also greatly appreciate it if you could like the video, and help me boost my numbers by subscribing to my channel. Also, leave me a comment of what you think of the installation, or tell me about your experience if you have also used a tankless water heater. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.